Dancing with Debra is the 24th episode of the 3rd season of Everybody Loves Raymond. This is directed by Brian K. Roberts, and as always, there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. And I think it's a really brilliant episode. Also, as I have been playing a game in the last few episodes, trying to identify the Disney toys in the background, I spotted Rabbit from Winnie the Pooh. If you spot any that I missed, do let me know. The episode starts off with Debra and Ray watching a film. Ray is not exactly enjoying it, so he decides to talk with his belly button, whom he calls Senior Navel, and he feeds it popcorn, which I think was a step too far. Robert then comes over, who had actually named Senior Navel, and he's going dancing, but he's really nervous about it. And Ray comes up with an idea, which I have to say would make everybody happy. He suggests Debra goes dancing with Robert, so Robert doesn't have to be nervous. Debra gets a night out. Ray gets to watch a film of his choice, and Debra's so excited, and it was lovely to see, because we very rarely see Debra being this excited. And off she goes. Ray is then watching a film with Gianni. Marie comes over to borrow some vanilla, and Marie then sits down to watch the action film, which was really great. She was really absorbed in it. Robert and Debra then come home. They're obviously really happy. They've had a great time. They look fantastic. They go into the kitchen and Ray follows to get some beers, including a beer for Marie. And Robert and Debra show off some of their moves, and they're just so happy, and it's such a joy to witness, and Robert practically skips out of the room. It's a very unusual scene, because Robert and Debra are both very happy. Marie is drinking beer watching an action film. It's a strange situation for Ray to be in, and he finds out that Debra and Robert are going dancing again next Saturday. And they're in bed, Ray and Debra, and Robert phones. Debra's almost giddy on the phone. Clearly she's getting a lot out of this, because she doesn't exactly get to go out dancing ever. So she's having a great time. Ray is feeling a few things, and we do learn quite quickly what Ray is thinking, because he then goes over to Robert's apartment. Robert is dancing with a CPR doll, and Ray does something that I think is not great. In fact, I absolutely hated it. Initially, he suggests to Robert that Debra is holding him back from meeting other women. He should go dancing alone because he wanted to go dancing to meet other women. If he's going with Debra, that's not happening, which I guess does make sense. But Ray is clearly not happy about this, because he then lies, and I hated this lie. He tells Robert that actually Debra's not looking forward to it at all. And that's uncalled for two reasons. One, Debra was looking forward to it, and Ray is now denying her that fun that she's clearly happy to be having. And also, that's going to hurt Robert's feelings a lot. So I really hated Ray in that moment. And Robert thinks about this. The next thing we see is Debra getting dressed up. It's next Saturday. Love her dress. Absolutely loved it. And Robert phones and cancels because there's a child in the well, which just seems like a ridiculous excuse, but Robert being a police officer, it did make sense. And Debra's obviously upset, understanding because it's Robert's job, but certainly upset as well. And Ray ends up having to go dancing with Debra instead, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I feel like Debra and Ray spending time together, doing something that's fun, obviously not a bad thing. However, Ray didn't count on the fact that Robert would still be going dancing. After all, Ray did try and seem like Robert should be going without Debra so he could meet women, so it makes sense that Robert would go on his own. And as soon as they get there, Ray spots Robert, and pretty quickly Debra spotted Robert, and you just know Ray is going to be getting into a lot of trouble, and I was so keen to find out how this would play out. And because the music is playing, they can't talk or anything because it's too loud. Also, the music I thought was really brilliant, and for a good couple of minutes, they're basically dancing. Well, Ray is dancing. Debra is trying to follow Robert, who is dancing with other women, and eventually she catches up to him. And the music's still playing, but Robert and Debra manage to talk, and it's just perfectly executed. I really wanted to put this as the thumbnail because it's gorgeous, but I try to not put spoilers or the best moments in thumbnails, and they just turn, look at Ray, and they dance towards him. And it's kind of scary. And Ray basically bounces around the room to try and escape from them. And obviously the music stops, and they ask him why he lied and why he said this. And I like the fact that Debra very quickly established that Robert wasn't avoiding her or anything. I like the fact that it was made clear very quickly, and vice versa with Robert. I like the fact that they realised this was all Ray's fault pretty immediately. And I like the fact that Ray admitted he was jealous. And I also love the fact that immediately Ray found out that neither Debra nor Robert were seeing anything romantic in this, because she's his wife, he's his brother, and I think everything worked out really well. And then we end up in bed at the end of the episode with Ray talking, this time not from senior navel, but he's not getting anything out of Debra, completely understandably. I do think Ray was very, very selfish in this episode, not just because he was denying his brother the comfort of dancing with somebody familiar, but really denying Debra some fun time that she really needed. And I thought that was really rather unacceptable. But we had some really great moments in this episode. Really thoroughly enjoyable. Dancing with Debra is a pretty brilliant episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.